Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and good night. You're watching to or listening to another episode of Engine Room, the only podcast in crypto that matters. We are, of course, brought to you by TokenMetrics.com, a cryptocurrency research company that's here to help you make money in crypto. Today is Monday, November 29th, and joining us, as always, on this edition of Mop Up Monday, as we like to call it, we've got Jacob and Bill. Gentlemen, what's up?
Hey, Dylan.
Hi.
So we can't really get this thing started until we tee up this story about Jack Dorsey, former CEO, now former CEO of Twitter, leaving the company theoretically to go do Square full time. Jack is an interesting guy because he took control of Twitter and Square, two publicly traded companies, at approximately the same time, about autumn of 2015, and he's run both of them in parallel for going on 6 years. But the big news in Twitter land today, well, big news in crypto land on Twitter today, is that the CEO of Twitter is now leaving to go do Square exclusively. I can think of a number of reasons why this is interesting. First of all, Jack has been talking about how seriously he takes Bitcoin. This seems to be the first step towards walking that walk. If Bitcoin and crypto is so important to you, then what are you doing running a social media company that seems to court extremists, for example? If he's leaving Twitter, he can now focus full time on Square, this project that he's been in charge of for going on 6 years. By way of putting some numbers to this news, when he took over as CEO of Twitter since the time he took over in October 2015, Twitter shares are up 85%, but compare this to the stock price of Square, which is up 1,566% since it IPO'd under his control. Guys, what do we make of Jack Dorsey, kind of a controversial guy who was doing things to make Twitter better, but not really, it didn't seem like. Now he's all in on fintech. How do we think about this?
All right. Well, a lot of people don't know this, but Jack was a headline speaker at Bitcoin Miami, which was the first big crypto conference after the pandemic. So Jack was the CEO of a social media company, but he's really a Bitcoin guy. And he wants to use Twitter as a platform to usher people into Bitcoin the way Zuckerberg wants to use Facebook to usher people into the metaverse. So Jack's going to go to Square, ramp up the Bitcoin, and then leverage Twitter as, like a Bitcoin destination, if you will. Mm-hmm. Right. So, Twitter's stock shot up, came back down. I was actually saying in the market update last week, Twitter and Square, but Twitter may actually wind up being a way to play Bitcoin.
Buying Twitter stock as a way to kind of get roundabout Bitcoin exposure, you're saying?
That's right. Because
interesting. I like this idea. Twitter stock as the new MicroStrategy. I'm here for it.
Yes. It's a question of time because, Jack's not going over to Square, to help small merchants take a credit card, right? He's going over there to make Bitcoin big in that network.
Yeah, it's an interesting, I can remember Jack Dorsey stories from a year or two ago where this is a guy who was traveling to Africa he was like doing crypto field trips through impoverished nations. So I don't mean to rain too hard on him. I think it's great that we have such a public facing crypto guy out there, but I'm kind of happy to see that he's seeing the light and running Twitter is probably a distraction from what he actually wants to do, which is to accelerate adoption and bring crypto ever more into the mainstream, perhaps. Jacob, any thoughts on Jack Dorsey finally fully embracing crypto and Bitcoin by working exclusively at Square instead of having a side hustle called CEO of Twitter?
Yeah, I think him leaving Twitter isn't the end of his involvement in Twitter. Like Bill was saying, I think he's still a board member till he fully leaves in 2022. And I think even though he's still running Square and he's out of Twitter, he still might have his hands in the Twitter pot. And as he continues his crypto journey exclusively in Square, it might not be so exclusively with Twitter. He might be leveraging Twitter to continue and further his crypto dreams and goals.
Well, we're here for it. Go ahead, Bill.
I mean, not to mention you could have possibly Twitter coin one day. In other words, if you do videos on YouTube, you get a bunch of advertising, you get paid for that. I'm not sure the same model. I remember Ramp Capital, a huge legacy crypto Twitter site, going, we should be getting paid for doing this, right? Bitcoin or Twitter coin may one day be a way to pay influencers on Twitter for generating ad revenue, okay? In other words, if they need a new business model and they need to transact with people, you know, why would a giant social media player like Jack be behind El Salvador in terms of having Bitcoin in their ecosystem?
Yeah, this is a guy who there's enough Steve Jobs energy in Jack Dorsey for him to think that he's competing with nations, and so that's an interesting way to put it. He has to keep up with El Salvador, and the only way that he's going to do that is by running a fintech company exclusively. That makes a lot of sense to me. Well, anyway, we don't need to harp on completely about Jack and Twitter and Square. While it is a big news story, it is, of course, not the only news story. Guys, this Omicron COVID variant, it tanked the fiat market on Friday, and it certainly has its tendrils into the crypto market, although not entirely to the negative. Jacob, why don't you talk to us about this cryptocurrency that's about a month old that happens to be named Omicron that spiked like crazy in the wake of this Omicron COVID variant kicking off?
Yeah, so after the Omicron variant was discovered in South Africa, it made the news. Like you said, crypt tanked legacy markets. But I guess this became a new meme coin, and Omicron, or its ticker OMIC, surged 900% after the COVID variant news was spreading. So it started off last Saturday at $65. It went up to an all-time high of $689, which is a 945% increase. Right now it's down 50% from all-time highs, and it's trading at $326. And it's not just a meme coin. It actually has some utility. So what it is actually a fork of Olympus DAO DeFi protocol. It forked off in early November, and it's a decentralized reserve currency protocol that runs on Ethereum layer 2 network Arbitrum, and it's backed by several other crypto assets, including the USDC stablecoin and liquidity provider tokens. But
so in short, it seems like a really legit project that just happened to have a perfect name for our times.
Yes. No, it has no connection to the COVID variant whatsoever. All it is a fork of Olympus DAO that happened to be named correctly in the right place at the right time.
Yeah. Bill, does this spell bubble to you? How do you interpret this?
Okay, well, never underestimate the the cryptos market ability to create, as Kramer says, there's always a bull market somewhere. In crypto, there's always a pump somewhere. The question is, how wise is it? This reminds me of the first trade is always the wrong trade, right? If we're buying, a meme DeFi protocol, the real buy could be anything from ETH to Solana to Kusama to Terra Luna. Because here's the deal, folks. Scientists can debate Omicron. Zero Hedge says it's a disaster. Goldman says it's not. Here's the deal. Jerome Powell just got his job back. The Fed's not tightening in an election year, and the Fed is definitely not raising rates or tapering in an environment where this virus could be a problem. Why is that relevant? Well, that's all good for crypto, right? Omicron is telling you that speculative juices are alive and well in crypto because the Fed can't tighten because it is new, not so good uncertainty.
Gotcha. Time will tell. Let's hit this last little item and then wrap this sucker up. 1 million ETH has been burned since the EIP 1559 upgrade in August. Jacob, can you help us make sense of that soundbite?
Yeah, so kind of what this burning of ETH is after this protocol, it kind of created new rules for the Ethereum fee market. So it modified the limit of gas fees and introduced a burn feature, which took a portion of transaction fees on the blockchain out of circulation to be canceled or burned permanently. And since that happened in August, like you said, over 1 million ETH or $4.3 billion has been burned. So it's gone forever. But Ethereum is not deflationary yet. It's still inflating at 1.2% per year. And kind of the reason why is at current rates, Ethereum, approximately 4 million ETH is being burned every year. However, the blockchain currently creates 5.4 million ETH per year. So it's still inflationary. And I want to talk about some of the biggest ETH burners, and not to anyone's surprise, because there was a huge NFT boom since August. OpenSea has burned 110,000 ETH or $467 million. Uniswap, 393 million. Tether, 229 million. MetaMask, 95.5 million. Axie Infinity, 67 million. And this is all just ETH that's gone forever. And the question is, well, when is ETH going to be deflationary? Because that's what we're all waiting for. That's what's really going to drive the price of Ethereum. And that's really once Ethereum 2.0 upgrade goes live. Because like we all know, it's transitioning from proof of work to proof of stake. And this means that the staking rewards will be far lower than the mining rewards. As a result, there's going to be a lot less Ethereum produced, and the burn rate's still going to stay the same, thereby creating a deflationary ecosystem.
Can you draw a line between this and, Ethereum's kind of notorious gas fees lately? What is this going to do for gas fees? Because I'm tired of spending $100 to move $50.
Yeah, well, hopefully once Ethereum 2.0 goes live, gas fees will drastically decrease, but I'm not certain that it will. The gas fees may still be at the same level that they're at continuously, and that may be why some other projects are stronger in the long run.
Yeah, retail's going to move to AVAX, Avalanche, because they're tired of fees. But I've been tracking Illuvium. It's an altcoin, ILV. If you go to their website, it's like a metaverse gaming play. You see fight for ETH. And if Illuvium continues to take off, started at like 1,000 6 days ago, it's now at 1,700. So other networks and other highways, just like there's more than one way to get into New York City, tunnels, bridges, there'll be more than one way to get into DeFi, metaverse, NFTs. But as long as somebody wants to fight for ETH, okay, remember, ETH is money and a currency of culture. So I guess when Coinbase takes NFTs, the open question is, I'm assuming they're going to take ETH for that. I guess we'll do that in another episode. So this idea that, Avalanche is better for retail, but the idea that ETH is dead with a constant or shrinking supply, people should check themselves and make sure that they don't get complacent and wind up and have ETH at 6,000 one day.
It does seem a little bit inevitable, and we're certainly here to help everybody make sense of how to get there, what to do along the way, what trades to make and not make. If you got any value out of watching this video or listening to this podcast, tell somebody about it. Subscribe to Token Metrics on YouTube. Share this audio podcast with your friends. It's a financial crime to not be in crypto, so why not help spread the word a little bit? As always, this is Dylan, Jacob, and Bill helping you get ready for the week ahead. And we'll see you on Wednesday for the group episode of the podcast. Till next time.